Alright, hopefully you can see this. I have to make this real quick. There's something that you can see my feet. So, you can use a lot of different things. This is just a little ball on a string. It's actually a reflex ball, but for even having moving back, right, with through my rear heel up, I'm using my foot to move back instead of my body. So if you move your body back, see where my butt kind of shifts back toward my heel. I can't move really anything except this when I start doing that. So we want to work on doing this, and this kind of gets you working on moderating your range while you're here. So if this is swinging, right, I don't want it to hit me, I'll just use my foot to moderate my range from there. And you want to, there's kind of a couple things you can do with this, which I'll show on a different part. But the biggest thing is just having something swinging at you, being here. And you'll see that kind of the relationship between my foot, my butt, and my head kind of stay the same. I don't want to get way back out here. I want to use this to kind of not get hit, moderate to where I'm moving just as much as I need to. You see, I'll move my head back just like slightly, especially if I can't get my foot back in time. This is about as much head movement and body movement as I need. Because as I do this, that one gets me off balance, takes my weight back here, and it opens up my body to shots. But I can do a slight lean, but my heel stays up so I can easily spring back and come back and forth, right? So, swing, and I can either do this starting further away, if I want to kind of ease into it. I can do it, the ball's here, start with my head where the ball is, play with seeing how far I can move around doing that. Alright, so some more soap packs. Just scooch it over here a little bit. So, I do the same thing on bag, like I said before. I do a lot of different things. I'm using a bag right now, just because the bag will help me show a couple of other things, I think, more easily than a ball that's hanging up real high ball. So we do the same thing we were doing before. We're just kind of be here, moving, keeping our rear heel up as we move back, right? I can do this if I'm in a boxing stance, or if I'm taller and in a kicking stance. You can also kind of play with using your hands, especially in a partner drill. Partner drill, sometimes kind of catching and riding that, like a shot coming at you, letting it hit your hand, lifting your foot up, and having that push, and then landing and being able to follow. So if I was doing that here, I would start here, right, where this is pushing on me, ride it back, come forward. And don't, when I do stuff like that, I can do it without the hand too, if I'm here. So I'm just kind of riding that back and forth without actually pressuring it. You'll notice that there's not a big like stop or a big impact, because I'm not, if I stop too early, it kind of smashes a little bit. And so you just kind of get used to riding that. A drill you can do without having any sort of hang is springy toes, getting yourself in the habit of keeping your rear heel up, just be in your stance, whether it's, here, whether it's more here, whatever. But my rear heel is going to stay up, and I'll move forward, move backwards, just springing back and forth. Obviously, if you want to be in your stance, have your hands up, but I want you to hear me, so I'm not like sitting here like this, muffling myself. So I'll be here. A couple things on a drill like this. I don't want to be doing this the whole time, because if I'm sitting there changing my level a lot, every time I move, it's telling people that I'm moving. And I want to be able to move smoothly. So this takes up more time and more energy. Or if I just stay, where my head kind of stays at a level, right? And I will typically do these. When you do like a 3-minute round, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. I do this as warm-ups all the time. You can play with, having different footwork with it. And then just making sure that rear heel stays up the whole time. So now we have spring toes. We have just having something swing and kind of moving back and forth. We can add to that as we're here, I'm here, I'm looking at shots. So if this is like a punch coming at me, some sort of attack coming at me, moving around it first with shots. Something I didn't really talk about is how I can modulate the rear foot. I can also modulate with the front foot or with both feet. But the whole time I'm focusing on keeping this here. All right, and then I can add in, I'm taking in shots where I'm going forward, going back. But the whole time I'm sitting there with focusing on this. You can also, something else that happens a lot, if you're always in and up on your heel, actually I'll talk about that in a second, probably on a different part. But for this part, I'm talking about, monitoring range, looking at shots I can do, and also look at different movements. So instead of just going forward and backward, I can start looking at different side-to-side motions, just kind of skimming the bag on side to side. So you'll notice, I don't know how well you can see it, maybe I can do it this way, but when I do these, I just kind of skim across the bag without trying to impact its side to side motion very much. To get myself, because a lot of times when you're moving back, a lot of people will move back and think that's the only direction they can move to avoid. But that becomes predictable, and you're limiting your options because there's only so far you can ever move back, right? Like right here, I have this bag. If I just retreat, I'm gonna run into that. And that's part of, man, I apologize. I jump around a lot, so apologies. But one of the important things of when I drop this heel, my butt, my back kind of go online with that, is that I lose a sensory tool. So my heel works as kind of an antenna when I'm moving around. Even like my calf, all this works as an antenna. So if I'm in a ring, right, and I move back, I can feel where the edge of the ring is because the rope will hit my calf before I actually reach it. When I'm moving back here, I know where that bag is now because my heel just touches it. Now if I drop this, my back is basically on this the same time my heel is, so I lose a little bit of my spatial perception by letting my body get on the same plane as that heel. That's one of the reasons, on the Discord answer, I kind of said, if I'm here, working my teeth and stuff, my answer typically to someone coming forward, if they get past that range, isn't to keep going back, because I don't really have the balance or the anything to stabilize backward motion, but I also don't have a feeler. I can't tell what's behind me before I get there. So typically my answer when I get there is coming forward and going into clinch. All the time if I'm here, that's coming in and clinch, or I can come in and turn because I still have enough perception in this area where I don't have it in this area when I'm here. But if my heel's up and I'm more here or more here, I have that perception behind me, knowing a little bit before I get there what's going to be there. So just a little more on just kind of learning your ranges. I know Sam talked somewhere had talked about like missing punches and stuff to gauge your range. And a lot of the time, I don't know if it's everywhere, but a lot of the places I've trained and a lot of places I see most of the time, when you're hitting something kind of static. Sometimes you will train on a bag and it'll be moving. You'll kind of move around and set and fire. Obviously, you're not always going to be able to do that. This gets a whole lot bigger. When you start talking about tap stepping, or if you've read Jack Dempsey's Championship Boxing, he talks about a false step. I call it tap stepping. My instructor called it tap stepping. But you can do that. This whole thing is tap stepping, and you're kind of using this bag or whatever swinging object as the target you're avoiding, whether it be a body coming at you or a shot coming at you, right? So now we can change that. When you get used to that, you can start using, and you can, when you talk about shadow fighting, you want to think about shots coming at you. And it's the same thing when you're on a bag. If I'm on a bag and all I'm doing is attacking, I'm not thinking about what's actually happening in a fight. I'm not actually practicing anything, but I guess looking cool. Technique, but if you're working a bag or you're working shadow fighting, you should be thinking and visualizing an opponent, right? So as I'm here, I can actually use this. This is my opponent, and I can think about shots that are coming at me and how I'm going to respond. And just like I was talking about before, I'm using this bag behind me if I'm going too far, right? I can be here and I can be fine and keep going back and forth. But I know if I get to here and I feel this, I need to start moving side to side. But that's something that is in my environment, might not be in your environment. You might want to add and change things in your environment to kind of practice that stuff. That's a whole different fucking thing. But the point I'm trying to get to is you can start thinking about that heel up, retreating, and coming forward, while also working shots, right? And modulating that range. I know how much it's swinging right now. I'm not going to be able to throw a good straight shot in real jams, right? So a lot of time, I'll throw that tight hook. Out here, when it's coming in, I can kind of throw those shots, but I need to time it at the right time to actually get a good straight shot, and timing coming back and still being up on my heel. But it also lets me, as I come back to defend, come right back and fire. You can also think about that if I step back. My wife's sleeping in the house, so I can't hit this hard, or else she'll wake up and be upset. But so I can move and fire off right back, or as it comes in, so much, I move back and immediately come into fire. And all that is just from moderating range here, right? Oh, shit. So something I should have talked about before is extending this leg. And like the minimal amount of movement. Try not to make this leg straight, because it's a hyperextended leg waiting to happen. If someone just trips and falls on your leg and you're like this. I've had surgery on both these knees and it's not pleasant. So I try to really hang on, don't just have this straight. You notice every time I'm moving back, this doesn't get here, right? So all of these, whether it's here, right? But that's an aside. So yeah, as we're moderating these ranges, throwing shots, we can also think about other answers, right? We can add those shots to the movements we looked at before from here, you know, cutting angles, right? Doing all this stuff, moving back, moving to the side, bang here, moving over here, right? Then we add that. So we add in, you know, different attacks to also optimize how this motion is happening, because all of this is all predicated on here. So if I can come here, it would let me shoot back, right? Which is what gives me this grip here to fire a knee real quick. Or it lets me here, out, fire. Yeah, so those are drills. Yeah. Some drills that you can use to kind of practice that. There are more, I don't know why I picked this up, that probably just makes everybody nauseous. There are obviously plenty of other drills, especially with partners. But there's some ideas that I can get in the like 30 minutes that I'm home between work and going to the gym.